Josh Allen, you a fucking nah. Welcome to another episode of It's Debatable NFL edition. I'm your host Justin Jones here with co-host Seb. You already know why we're here for. We have moved on to the next chapter of the NFL playoffs. Some more teams have got eliminated. Some more coaches are getting fired. I feel like there's just a coaching auction going on. You get a coach, you get a new coach, you get a new offensive coordinator, you get a new defensive coordinator. The league is going, I don't want to say the league is going to look different, but I think how we see these teams maneuver next season, just on the offensive and defensive side, is just going to look very different. I'm already saying this. I don't even know who's going to be the champion this season, but I feel like we'll have a different champion next season. I just think things are going to look real different. But we had a lot of interesting matchups, a lot of disappointments, a lot of lowlights, a lot of highlights. Let's just start with the Broncos and the Bills. Um, Go ahead, Seb. You can go first.
Uh, Stepping into this game, this was actually a big game for both teams. Especially the Broncos being the number one seed. A lot of people didn't have faith in them to begin with. I've seen a lot of majority bettors and sports analysts going with the Bills. Just the fact that Josh Allen has been special this far in the playoffs. And they just said this is his year. Going to this game, a lot of pressure on the Broncos to shut all that noise down. And just for the Bill side of things, too, a lot of pressure on their end too as well. Josh Allen this year, people expect to get him done. Anything less than a Super Bowl appearance was a failure to just the organization and just a stunt on his career legacy. And so yeah, a lot of momentum riding for both teams though. To start the game, relatively slow. I did like what I seen from the Broncos side of things, though. It wasn't necessarily just the well, actually, it was killing the clock. I feel like they game managed for the most part, though. But for other than that, I like what I seen out of Bo Nix in the first half of the game. I think more so just relying on his other receivers and not just a one man show. I was very appreciative just seeing that. And Josh Allen and his side of things, though, it looked like he just got off to a hot start very quickly, just dotting up his receivers. James Cook looked like he played with a mission. Just more so, just looking like I have to avenge from that last game that we played against the Jags, not being the best player that I can be, and just the fact that they're gonna need me to run the ball extremely well to help Josh out. And everything was flowing for them for the most part, though. Despite the 4 picks, I seen 4 or 5 picks Josh Allen threw. It came with the territory. You can't be scared. I think that's one thing about this Broncos defense. They will force a bunch of turnovers, but at the same time, is if they get you to a point where you're scared out of your game to where now I'm scared to throw the ball because I might get picked off, it's going to lead to a situation to where now you're playing into their edge. So the picks were warranted. At the end of the day, it was still a close game on both sides. Both teams, came out ready to ball. I think what really was the game changer was that the call that they made. I'm not a football guy, so I can't really call. In my fan opinion, it was a catch. It was a first down in my opinion. It was a well caught catch by Cooks, but people didn't see like that. The referees know more than I do. Feel me? They get paid the big bucks to know all this type of shit. So I feel like that was a game changer for the most part. It really discouraged just this Bills team, and then the Broncos was just very just good execution. Major part of that was their defense. I think that they really play a good style of defense. Starting with Pastor Tane and just what he's able to do out there. I did see you get a little rattled up. I don't know if he came back into the game fully. I'm just looking at just this Broncos defense, and I feel like it led them to the win more so than the offense. I think that you got a Bills teams that's used to just putting up big numbers, but in this case scenario, you held them to a certain point advantage. I believe it was scored 30-33, which is still a good game for the most part, though. But you didn't match their offensive power, and then you still managed to rattle Josh Allen a little bit to throw 4 picks.
Yeah. We could break this down in so many ways. I would just want to say when it came down to it in the clutch, Bo Nix was better than Josh Allen. The problem is that they gotta address their defense in the offseason because they can't stop anybody. The same thing happened in the Jacksonville game. It really if Jacksonville didn't have that turnover, who knows how that game would have ended. The Bills kept playing around with their food. You already know you don't have the necessary parts to really compete with some of these top teams, the reason you was in the position that you was in was because you had Josh Allen, and for some games you had James Cook. Besides those two players, and them both being offensive players, you didn't really have much else. You had up and down receivers, receivers that maybe go one week, trash the next week, and you have a defense that couldn't stop anybody. So, like I said, you got through Jacksonville because Josh Allen just outplayed Trevor Lawrence. You move on to the next week, and we both said it was going to be a tougher matchup, and your late game heroics just didn't work. If we want to talk about that late game call, should have been a pick, should have been a fair catch. I'm not the one to say that. Those refs are there for a reason. What I would say is a moment like that, knowing what it means, both teams' season on the line. I would have maybe one of them like even like in the NBA. I've seen games stop for about 15 minutes trying to get a call right. You feel me? So I feel like they could have did more of their due diligence. But once again, I don't get paid that kind of money to make those kind of decisions. It was made a turnover, and after that, it was just over. You just brought up the point but he had all these turnovers. Those come back to bite you in the ass.
100%.
You feel me? Just like another player and team we're gonna talk about a little bit later. You can't have all these turnovers against some of these elite teams. I put the Broncos as an elite team because what they can do on both ends and the coach that they have up there, right? Sean, we also got to say Sean Payton out coached. Is his name Brian again? I be forgetting that dude's name. Is it Brian?
Mike McDonald, I think. No,
It's Mike McDonald.
no,
God
not
damn.
Mike McDonald. Mike McDermott. Wait, let me check. Fucking
I don't know where Brian came from. If that's not his name, that nigga look like a Brian. My fault.
Sean McDermott. Yeah, Sean McDermott.
Sean McDermott, Doug McDermott, same person. I feel like Sean Payton is just more of a mastermind when it comes to drawing up these play calls. And at the end of the day, the better team beat the team that just wasn't really on their level. Even if they had kept advancing, I think the Bills just had no room for error. Josh Allen either was going to have to be amazing or they're going to lose. They have to address a lot this offseason. This kind of reminds me of the Chiefs, right? And once they tried to really make a playoff run, you didn't have no room for error. Yes, you have a great quarterback there who's done so many magical things. You keep trying to put all the weight on his shoulders, and some of it is warranted, right? It is the QB, the most difficult position, some people say, in sports. This is why you get paid the top dollar, all of that. But when things go wrong, we also have to look at you, Josh Allen. You just got to be better. But if I'm Josh Allen, I'm going to the front office. The minute that game is over, I need some fucking help. Because as much as we want to do the narrative, oh, there was no Joe Burrow, there was no Patrick Mahomes, there was no Lamar Jackson, there was none of the. He didn't have the team. Now what if you put Josh Allen as the QB of the Houston Texans?
I think the same thing happens.
With that defense, I don't think so at all.
Well, with the
I
offense,
I, I definitely think they win this game.
yes. With that defense, yeah, that defense is special.
I'm just saying. So it's like you gotta address once again both sides, but this team just didn't have it. I don't think there was no way they was going to be able to win a Super Bowl. Now, I had them winning that game based off the momentum they had off the Jacksonville game, but for them to go all the way, it was going to be very very difficult. I just don't think they had the necessary parts. Shout out to the Broncos, but now they're not going to make it either. Right? Prayers up from Bo Nix and that broken ankle, but they're cooked. They ain't gonna beat the Patriots with a backup QB. Oh no. So shout out to them. They've also had a great season. Yeah, both of these teams left the games. One a winner, one a loser. But long term, I think both of them left very very depressed on that plane ride home.
Yep. Two teams that feel me, even when there's there's a bad, it gets worse. Because at the end of the day, and going into this next game without Bo Nix and the uncertainty of a quarterback that hasn't threw the ball damn near 4 years, you're liable just to be like, what the fuck? Oof. It's gonna be a tough ask too, especially in a was it AFC championship? You
Yo,
that's a that's
listen, I know the type of drink that Mr. Payton poured up after after he got that news. That's called Scotch straight.
I think so, but you know what I'm saying? It's always a Cinderella story, man. That's the best thing you could have for you could have hope this nigga throws for 300 yards, something, do something special. I don't know, man. I don't know what you could expect out of this. This is the worst time to have a backup quarterback that hasn't gotten no reps. No reps.
Right, and going up against that team over there, like this is just a recipe for a disaster.
Yeah, but moving on. What do we
I'm
got?
so so let's talk about it, right?
The
I don't
second
know.
game, the Niners versus the Seahawks.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't. Well, first let me say I was wrong, and the Seahawks definitely won that matchup. Sam Darnold was out there doing his thing. It was really just belt to ass from the most part. Just from the start of the game, they already got that. You already know the house call. They brought it back for what, like 95 plus yards, right? Just took it all the way just off the.
Heed, man. That's all he. That's his favorite thing, man. He gonna get them punt returns.
Yeah, man. So ever since then, everything was just going downhill. Everything that could have gone wrong for the 49ers was going wrong for them. They could just never get it going. I felt like every time I would look at my FanDuel account and just checking the score of the game, it just kept getting higher and higher. And I'm like, well, goddamn. All right, but shout out to the Seahawks. We know this was a team once again that's always well prepared. What they could do defensively, offensively. A lot of people are saying this is their year. This might be their easiest path to get to a Super Bowl and win the whole thing. So I feel like they're not playing at all right now. They just got, well, they're 2 games away now, right? So you look at that and say we just can't drop the ball. We know what type of team we are. We know the teams that are left and we're one of the best, so why don't we win it all? Right? The Seahawks are in prime position. The 49ers, they gotta answer some questions this off season too, seeing, what direction that they want to go into. Can they just say, can we chalk up this season to we were just never healthy? You could, but then you also got asked, is Mr. Purdy going to be our QB moving forward? And that's how quickly things could go from one season to the next. But you just gotta ask these questions. So shout out to the Seahawks. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. And for the 49ers, you're gonna have to figure this one out in the off season, buddies.
This game. First of all, if you look at our own YouTube page, in the shorts where I said that the Niners couldn't win, they have a possible chance of going to the Super Bowl. The fans are frying me in this shit. They said pick up a new hobby. They doing all that. All right, first of all, for all y'all that's hating on my Niners pick, because all of a sudden you are right after the game. I could understand if y'all said this before the game. Before the game, y'all start saying all this under my comments. Cool. Y'all say this after the fact. So one, I was wrong. Two, get off my dick. And three, keep liking, subscribing, and commenting on the pages, though. I appreciate that. But nah, in all seriousness, no, this was a belt to ass massacre. I was not expecting this. That's one thing I'd tell you. I was not expecting this. From the punt return to this Kenneth Walker having a game of his fucking life to the Sam Darnold being able to just, manage even with that oblique injury to just manage the game. I think the Seahawks overall had a well-rounded game, even with the defense. The defense has been special all year, though, and you see there was no freaking let-ups on the defensive side for the Niners. Man, you could really tell that they made everything uncomfortable. Brock Purdy couldn't get into a flow of the offense. Christian McCaffrey saying that this was one of his toughest seasons, had one of his toughest games where he couldn't get shit. Another player got injured, Jake Tonges, got towards Achilles too. That's kind of crazy how your backup tight end towards Achilles too as well. They really put belt to ass on them boys, and I think that for the Seahawks, they came in there with a mission. They said we got to get out there, and then we really just got to make it tough for Brock Purdy to even think about getting into a flow of offense. And you've seen it. I think they only put up 2 field goals. There was nothing that they could do offensively. And every time I looked up, the score just kept getting worse. Credits to this everyone on the Seahawks. I think it was a well-rounded game from everybody, from offense to defense to special teams to punt return. Like everybody played a role in just what was being able to just be done out there. And that was a vital, 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 vital game for them too, because it lets people know on the map that I don't want to hear about the Rams. I don't want to hear about the Patriots. I don't want to hear about all these other teams, though. We're a team that you're gonna have to see us too. We have one of the best defensive in the NFL. If it wasn't the Texans, then it was definitely going to be the Seattle Seahawks with their just defensive abilities. That now I'm looking at it is, I think, and I wish Sean was here for this because Sean all of a sudden is the biggest Sam Darnold guy. He kept telling me, repost my take about just the Seahawks and how I was right. But I tell you, the defense is special. Which to credit, he was right though. But I think that just more so, you have a defense now that matches the offenses really well. A credit aside to just a little sidetrack for what Houston had, their defense was better than their offense this season. I think right now the Seahawks has a balance of just good defense and offense. So it makes it kind of scary for them too when I look at it. Um, and they're a team right now to where they can't do no wrong. These games you're gonna have to fight for, and I just think just a shout out to them for just managing to just, not only win the game, but I feel like the matter of how you win a game sends a message out there for the last couple teams remaining that for these next 2 games, like this is the type of defense you're gonna have to go against it. So I don't care what type of quarterback you are. I don't care if it's the backup quarterback. I don't even know his name for the fucking Broncos. If you somehow manage to get past the pass, I don't care if it's Drake May. I don't care if I got to see Matthew Stafford next week. Well, this week, you're gonna have to see this defense, and that defense plays with a lot of pride. The offense, if they could continue to keep up this juggernaut to where the JSNs of the world, the Rashid Shaheeds, the Kenneth Walker going into this game, next game. Now you don't have your backup running back and Zach Charbonnet, somebody that played a major role for them in the season. You still got to address all those things too. So it's going to be an interesting matchup going forward. Feel like the Seahawks definitely put themselves in a position to be the favorites right now to win it all. But we're going to see, though. But credits to the Seahawks, though. And for the 49ers side of things, you need a healthy season. I feel like the 49ers have never really had a healthy season besides one year where they went to the Super Bowl. And we could go through a list of guys that's just been injured, whether it was the Brock Purdy with the toe injury, whether it was George Kittle now with the Achilles, Jake Tonjes, Achilles. Ricky Parcel never really had a full healthy season around there. Fred Warner was scheduled to come back, but he got injured. I think it was in Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa. I forgot which one. The Bosa brother was injured, and that was a major piece for their defense too as well. Who else got injured? Brandon Ayuk never came back. He got hurt and just went laced. So that's like 8 players I just named as was dealing with injuries throughout the whole season. So it's just you're gonna have to find healthier pieces. You're gonna go out have to do a little bit of shopping to just make this team a little bit better. You're dealing with 2 tight ends now that is fully injured. Kyle Pitts, if he's out there, you go try to get him. You need a receiver core that's actually healthy. I don't know what you do with Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if he ever comes back to play football again. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but you need a receiver. And yeah, it's a lot for the 49ers to do, especially the way you lost. And you just lost your defensive coordinator too, so that don't make it any better. So the Niners are going to have a long offseason to really evaluate which way do we want to go. But for the most part, though, shout out to them for just, managing to get to the divisional round. I know it's nothing, though, but, when you deal with adversity for a season, you could have easily folded, but you didn't. You got belt to ass in the division round by the Seahawks. So back to the drawing board, right?
Shout out to the Seahawks. So what's the next matchup we have?
We had the New England Patriots against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, CJ Stroud, you got away with it that first week. and I don't mean week one, this first week of the playoffs that we had their first matchup, and you had all these turnovers, and you just wasn't able to capitalize off any of the of any of the points that you gained, right? Talking about this matchup, he just he. I'm trying to figure out what happened to CJ Stroud because it felt like he started off the season very slow. Then towards the middle endish picked it up. Going out into these playoffs, it seems like he's reverted back to just to his old ways. So I even seen the meme saying that ever since he pulled Caleb Williams into that huddle and tried to give him game, that he hasn't had his game ever since.
Mhm.
So the
Thunderstruck.
defense is good, and I don't think that's their problem at all. I think management has to realize they only have a certain type of window with the type of defense that they play. I do want to give a shout out. What's his name? The one that wears like that big hat thing, the big cap thing on the defensive side of Houston.
I think it's Jalen Noel. I think. Don't quote me on it. Jalen Noel. There's a
The light skinned kid. I just want to give him a shout out.
yeah, Jalen Noel.
Yeah, so shout out to him. Just the type of defense that he plays is just very, very old school. Just seeing the type of player that he is, the one that actually likes contact and looks like he's trying to knock niggas out head first, is just something that, I feel just ignites the whole defense. So shout out to him. But yeah, going up against my fault. I feel like I'm drawing a blank. Dude, who was the team that right going up against the Patriots? The Patriots on the offensive end, they was able to get their momentum going. Their defense was good enough. It just seemed like since the score I think was like 10-7, ever since then the Patriots just turned it around and they was just the better team just for the rest of the game. The offense for Houston was just never able to get it going. CJ Stroud, whether it was just throwing timely picks or whether just get getting sacked, which led him to fumble the ball. He just, you could just see it on his face. He just could never really just get it going. Then you see the moping and the head down, and other teams can just sense that. So once they already see that you have that look on you, they're gonna try to sack you even more. They're gonna keep trying to throw these guys at you because they already see you're mentally not there. I think that's where CJ Stroud has to continue to get better. Right, because you see when he does have that confidence, he could make those throws. Right, even look to when they got their first touchdown, and he was able to find the Kirk kid inside of the end zone. Right, you seeing that he had some momentum. He was happy the minute he started. Oh, bless me! The minute he started to turn the ball over, it just seemed like his whole demeanor went down. You can't have that as your QB in a pivotal game like this. If you're gonna get the turnovers, you're gonna have turnovers. But still try to win the game. It seemed like he just checked out and the team could just never recover. And the Patriots went to their Patriots ways and they won that matchup. So the biggest thing, once again, the biggest takeaway I take from this is that CJ Stroud is not mentally strong enough to take a team to the Super Bowl as of right now.
Okay. Yeah. Before I move further, yeah. So it was actually Jalen Petrie. Both light
There,
skinned.
there you go. That
Jalen
does
Petrie,
sound
with
more
the
right.
the Guardian cap. Yeah, yeah. Petrie. My fault. My fault. Mix up the two. But yeah, my takeaway is completely different for this game for the Houston Texans side of things. Watching this game though, you're already going to this game without a Nico Collins, your number one wide receiver, due to concussion protocol. Then you miss your second heavily favored target in adults and Schultz went back and never came back in the game. It's kind of tough. I'm not saying that CJ Stroud is not to blame for it though, but just looking at the direction that they was going in, it could only go downhill from there when you don't have your wide receiver one, and you don't have your two, and you don't have your tight end one. You're now playing with a bunch of backups to where now is who can I rely upon heavy? And I thought it would be Christian Kirk. I thought that he played an exceptional game in the first game. I mean, in the game against the Steelers, I thought he's going to bounce back with that momentum though. But it just seems as if he didn't get it going. More so due to the Patriots defense, though. Credit to them though. But I also put into consideration that you were very limited into the offense that you have. I think that missing the guys like Schultz and Nico Collins definitely took away from that. Woody Marks couldn't get it going with the run game whatsoever though. There was very excellent in stopping from getting runs. I think he only finished with 17 rushing yards for somebody that just went off for 18. I'm looking at just the backup tight end. He got thrown in the hospital, boy, and I think he tore his ACL off that catch too. So everybody was just checked out. There was nowhere of positivity that you could go. You couldn't even get a first down. The most you could get is a check down, or maybe on the 3rd and 15. Them boys were strut. CJ Stroud, you could see the frustration on his face, even though he did throw 4 picks. Though I definitely look at it as, even though he had matched us to do, I know he was trying. That's more I can say. The look on CJ is frustration, but I knew to a certain extent he dead ass was trying to make something happen out of that too. So I can't even say it's just mostly on him though, because at the end of the day, you got to work with what you got to work with on the field though. But when I'm missing my key component guys in Nico Collins, that's my favorite target, and Dalton Schultz, that is tied in one, and I don't really know who's the backup, stuff like that is you put yourself in a disadvantage, especially in a high stake game. You're in away territory. The crowd is rocking every time they get a freaking sack. Every time they get a pass, they get a pass off. You could tell. What's up?
Yeah, we can say that, but then you gotta go. You also gotta tell yourself this. Look up how many quarterbacks had that many turnovers through through their first 2 games of a playoff run.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing to that. I'm talking about this game specifically, though.
No, but I'm saying to your point, you're kind of alluding to he didn't have the necessary weapons, right? Then I bring up that point to say I'm pretty sure there was QBs who didn't have their top receivers who didn't have bad games like that. Like him to have all those turnovers, that's just not. As a QB1, you just can't make those kind of mistakes. We understand injuries, that's just a part of the game. It's a next man up mentality. You have practices, you have a training camp, you gotta know who's on your roster. I understand one or two, but to have 10 total turnovers through 2 games is almost unheard of.
The
Like,
offense is just not. My thing is that you're going against two solid defense too, and we gotta. I think more so is you gotta credit the defense. Those are two top of the line defenses: the Pittsburgh Steelers defense and the Houston Texans defense. I mean, and the Patriots defense too. So what they was able to do is more credits to them than I say to CJ Stroud, especially playing with backups. So that's that. I'm gonna credit that to mostly the Patriots defense, though they made things very uncomfortable. They got up in their nose. They run their blitz very well. I think more so was that a fact, and just the receivers that was just out there just couldn't get nothing going. A lot of times they're running their routes, they're not even looking for the ball. I test two of those picks were not CJ Stroud's fault. Two of them were just blatant sight, but a lot of them was just your receivers not being able to catch the ball, slips right out their hand and then falls to that. So sometimes I'm not gonna look at just the picks that you throw yourself. I'm gonna look at how the picks are thrown, and if you could blame it on the receivers though, because a lot of times the receivers misinterprets a catch, and then it just luckily falls into the other player's hand. So I can't fully say that. Too. I gotta look at Woody Marks' fumble too as well. I gotta look at a lot of fumbles that happen within him where it just it falls on the hands of CJ Stroud though. You are the quarterback, you get mostly the blame though. But watching that game, I'm just like, yo, there's nothing them boys could do out there. And I'm just watching, I'm just like, you really there's not much you could do out there. Like I think that for what they got off in the first half, though, that second half was not going to be the same thing too. Especially I'm hearing that now Woody Marks is now sitting on the sideline. He's getting checked out because he's not 100%. What do I have? Nick Chubb.
yeah, but then on the other side, I'm not saying anything you're saying is wrong. I mean, the better receivers you have, would assume the better you play. I think that's for any quarterback. But I'm saying if you're the leader, you're the QB. You don't think your teammates see you moping around?
Yeah, but
I
that's
know. So they're gonna go sometimes off that energy. If I'm a receiver and I see my QB who doesn't even look mentally there, like that's person throwing me the ball. Like how am I supposed to be? He is the quarterback. He's young, right? So we don't want to make it seem like his career is watched, right? I wouldn't go that far, but he has to be held accountable. You are the QB. It's one of the toughest positions in sports. We're not taking anything away from that. His job isn't the easiest job in the world, but your demeanor also means a lot because your teammates see it, and sometimes that translates. Even if you're throwing those picks, and to your point, what if he feels like it's not his fault? Then where was his energy at? Where was him trying to rile his team up? When did you see him on the sideline slapping niggas' helmets and yelling? I seen that with the Peyton Mannings in the world. You seen the Tom Brady's do that. The elites of the elites are gonna try to get the most out of what they can out of the roster that they have. We know that. So imagine if you want to blame the next man up and Nico Collins is hurt. Warranted. But you as the QB, the head of the snake, you just have to be better, and you gotta be better as a leader in a pivotal game like this. This wasn't a week 2 matchup. Right? This is the playoffs. I did not show me when you seen CJ Stroud fired up. When? You can't just say, oh, you can't just say that this is a tough defense. Oh my god, like nigga, we all know it's a tough defense. Who didn't know that? You didn't know that going into the game? Come on, man. Like I gotta call a spade, man.
Mm, I think that's just something they're gonna work on internally. Hopefully you get back some good pieces. I think for the most part though, you got to find a way to get off Nico Collins for something special. I see what's the exit price for George Frickens. Somebody that I just need somebody healthy though. I think a lot of times though, Nico Collins, he's a very, you got to be careful. I think he got to be careful with just his career though, because a lot of times I see him miss concussion protocols too, and that's one of the things where now people start talking about CTE, how you gonna move after your NFL career. You got a family, you got to think about all that, brother. It's no disrespect to you when you're on the field, you're a special talent, but I just think that a lot of times I've seen him on concussion protocol and just injury reserve. I just don't know about that though. So in a game like that, he probably would have got hurt again though because they were not playing. They was not playing, especially he was going against Christian Gonzalez on that cornerback. He was not about to play with his food whatsoever.
Mhm. Yeah.
But last game of the divisional round was a matchup between the Chicago Bears and was it the Los Angeles Rams. Two teams very exciting to watch. I thought it was going to be a shootout for the most part, but it's kind of a little bit of slow game. Starting from just the first quarter, then the second and third quarter, then things didn't really pick up to the fourth quarter. But watching this game, um, my takeaway from this game for the most part, Caleb Williams is going to be special, and I think right now this is just a learning curve. I think if you keep the same group together, you just add on to the nucleus, that it eventually is going to be better. Though I think the Bears defense don't get a lot of credit for. They played a tough matchup against a very well versatile offense in the Rams. For the most part, they kept it close. And I think that that's my major takeaway of this game. That just the Caleb Williams is going to be special. Breaking down the game itself, though, I think that this was a slow paced game. Both defense played very tough. The Rams defense too was just waiting for them big moments to just really shine. And a couple of times in the game, I think that one pick that Caleb Williams threw in the fourth quarter by and Kobe Durant caught it. I think that was the moment that they were waiting for. They stuck with the game plan. Sean McVay said it though. I think we're more so beating ourselves by not executing at the highest level that we can. I think we just got to stay in tune with the game. And I think that's really what it was, though. I think Matthew Stafford is one of those guys that he sees how the game is going. He sees how tough the defense is being played. He just stuck with it, stuck with it. And major shout outs to Kyron Williams, too, for just giving them the first touchdown of the game and just giving them their second touchdown of the game, too, for the most part. They stuck with the game plan for the most part. Somebody that was kind of special on just, his receiving and his running. More so, a lot of times he made a lot of good catches in the red zone to get them even close within the 2 yard or the 1 line and the 1 yard line. I think he did his part on that. Another guy I'm looking at, Kobe Parkinson, made a couple special plays here and there too. But for overall though, I just think it was a team effort. I think that more so that this game was predicated mostly on defense for both teams. Towards the end in that fourth quarter, I just think that a guy like a guy like Kyron Williams just definitely saved the day because when you look at it If he didn't score there, I feel like the Bears would have had more of the momentum. I did say it was going to come down to a last possession game. I feel like whoever wins wins, but I didn't expect what's it calling Caleb Williams to pull that last trick off to who was it, Cole Komet. I didn't know how he pulled that off. He did a fucking fadeaway pass, boom, right on the dot too. Very special play. I thought the momentum was going to swing after that, though. You see the crowd going crazy, though. They know they had something special there, but just this Rams defense too. Credits to them, though, to what really steal away for the game, and just for them to just march down and just put themselves back into just the NFC championship. You got to credit that.
Like,
So
oh, my fault.
no, no, yeah. So, yeah, this game was just it came down to this last marginal errors. You couldn't really do much. And Caleb Williams, I feel like threw the pick at the worst time possible, worst time possible. But at the same time, is you did what you had to do. As a Rams fan, you stuck with it defensively, and then you find yourself back in just the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said, especially the point that, I think, as much as the Bears feel like, this was a letdown, you're gonna feel like that after losing such a pivotal game. Just shout out to their season. Pull up their coach's name because I don't want like to say people's name wrong when I wanna
For the
give
Bears,
them yeah, the
Ben Johnson, if I'm not mistaken, Ben
shout
Johnson.
out shout out to Ben Johnson because I think just this season, he's earned himself another contract. I love when every time I see him behind the scenes, him in that locker room always having his team fired up, right? Even back to when they beat Green Bay late in the season, and he came in there and said, "Fuck the Packers, man, and fuck that coaching staff," and just having his team fired up, man. Look at those videos, and I'm about to just throw a shot. Shout out to Kevin Stefanski back when the Browns would win and how his locker room was. Do you feel me? Just two different type of energies, and that's you just really believing in your QB. Just moving forward into this particular matchup, you hit around the head. I think both of us was trying to say to take the over. We definitely thought it was gonna be a shootout, probably at least 21 points scored by both teams. It didn't really end up being like that. It was more of a slugfest, just more methodical. Both QBs just trying to figure out how to pick apart each other's team. It came down to fourth quarter play, and to your point, Caleb Williams just made a critical mistake at the worst time. We've seen some games like that this season to where Caleb Williams sort of had those problems. In the playoffs you don't want to have those problems, but you have to get it wrong to get it right, right? You have to learn from your mistakes, which is going to make you a better player. And I think this type of game, just being able to take this game just into overtime, I definitely think that this was great for his just progression moving forward. um he definitely is going to be one of those elite QBs for years to come. And shout out just to this organization for knowing who their guy was very, very early and putting the necessary pieces around him. We don't always really see that with management and with their young QB. Sometimes they just kind of throw them out to the fire. Shout out to them for letting Caleb Williams take his bump and bruises, but always making sure he had that support. So I wouldn't say this season is a letdown at all. Continue to build, and I definitely think they'll be here next season. In terms of the Rams, Matthew Stafford, I feel like could smell that championship. I definitely think have the best games per se, but if you could still win a playoff game without arguably your two best receivers really having those star-studded games, I think that's a good thing. You definitely see what you have else on the roster. I think moving into the next game, they are gonna need a big game from at least one of them, and I expect that to be Puka. But you also hit it on the head, Kyron Williams. I feel like they needed that type of game from him. I feel like before this game he was kind of quiet just on that side of the football. He wasn't really having those type of performances that we know he could have. So shout out to him for reminding everybody and just shutting up the haters at least for another week. Um you build off this, you go back to the drawing board, see the mistakes you made, see where you're going to have to get better. Because who do they play next in the matchup?
Seahawks, man, and that series is tied 1-1. And that's gonna be a bragging rights game too, because we met twice in the regular season. Both games, by one was decided by 1 point or so. You hear what I'm saying? Yeah, they're going against the Seahawks too. So this is a bragging right matchup between them. It's a 1-1 matchup right now. They both took away a win in the regular season. So this game is for all the marbles too, especially to get to the Super Bowl. That's gonna be a fight. Oh man, I'm not gonna say too much now though, but I'm gonna build it up for the next time we talk about our predictions because we're just doing a recap. But yeah, this is gonna be a boxing match, man. You won one in the series against each other, man, and both games was like one close game and one in overtime. Yo, bro, when I tell you this game is gonna be must see TV too, because there's two teams that don't like each other already. They know that they're both standing in each other's way of being into the Super Bowl. They know this already. It's gonna be a fighting game, man. Expect an aggressive ass game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We'll get to those predictions on another episode. The episode will probably come out most likely on a Friday, maybe Thursday. Just be on the lookout. But shout out to all the teams that won this previous weekend. We talked about the Rams, we talked about the Seahawks, we talked about the Patriots, and we talked about who am I missing?
Those.
There you go. No, who won?
We talking about who won?
Yeah.
Broncos. Oh, yeah.
Right, right, and the Broncos. Just prayers up to Bo Nix. Hopefully, he can have a speedy recovery and be back to the same player he was next season. Um, yeah, I'm interested to see how this next round goes. Both the teams that advance will go to the Super Bowl. So, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please
Before you, my fault. Before you end it off, I just want to just recap one more thing. Though I don't know if you watched last night's college football game, but I do just want to say I take and appreciate time to just shout out to Indiana and Miami for putting on a tough game for a college football game. Watching this game was very tough to see. Both teams came out just relatively slow to begin. But when I'm watching this game, this Heisman Trophy kid, Fernando Mendoza, he didn't have the best game like throwing wise though, but just what he's able to do in the clutch when he needed that running for like a 5 yard running. Shout out to him. There's a lot of talent from these games that I'm expecting to translate into this league. Somebody who caught my attention that whole game, Charlie Becker. He might have had two of the toughest catches I've seen this far that made me look. I said, okay, that kid could be pro. That kid could be on somebody's team. That kid could be special in the NFL. I definitely liked what I see from him there. I liked what I see from the running back in Miami, Mark Fletcher. Somebody that I feel like that broke a lot of tackles, could be special in the NFL too. Just watching this game too, I'm watching it. It's definitely a difference between college and football though, but a lot of players in that game definitely could go pro too. Shout out to Carson Beck playing his last game of his college career. Went out fighting. Threw for 232 yards. Definitely marched down the field. Both defenses was very tough and rugged. Nobody could really get anything going. I feel like Carson Beck had a better game throwing wise than Fernando Mendoza, but Mendoza just what he was able to do, and his running back, Kalon Black, what they was able to do in the run game and just manage the clock. It definitely was an exciting game too. That fourth quarter was very special from both teams though, and just shout out to the Indiana Hoosiers for winning this game too. So I just wanted to put that out there just to cover just a little bit more football too. But it was an amazing game from both teams thus far.
Yeah, shout out to Mendoza. Definitely someone that's been talked about this entire college football season. I'm hearing a lot of NFL execs just have very, very high hopes on this kid. Very interesting to see how his game translates. We've seen a lot of these top QB prospects be great, and then once they get into the NFL, whether put in the wrong situation, drafted by the wrong team, whatever it may be, them not have the same type of career, right? I could look at someone like a Johnny Manziel, right? We called him Johnny Football coming out of college. And then when he went to the league, for whatever reason, it just did not work out. Not saying it's gonna happen to the Mendoza kid, but definitely keep working on your craft and making sure you're ready for this next type of level. Because the type of scrutiny that you will get if you don't perform on the level that you're supposed to in the league can be detrimental. So yeah, keep
I'm
having
motivated. I'm rooting for the kid. I heard his post game interview. He's a good kid. And my brother was telling me too. He just like this. Well, listen to this post game interview and just watch how he talks. He genuinely, this shit meant a lot to him too. And he was telling like he's giving credits to his teammates, giving glory to God. He's saying it's like, yo, I wouldn't be in a position here if it wasn't for our defense. He's even shouting out the opponents, Miami. He said this is a team that didn't want me to even be a walk on for a second string, third string quarterback. And he said, look how life goes around in a full circle. Now he's playing against the team that didn't want him, the school that didn't want him. And now he just won a championship against the school that didn't want him. He's talking about, it's been tough, like, just being able to do this at the highest level. Just, he sounds like one of those people that's like, yo, you sound like a good guy. So you just want those people that you just want to win. You just hear him speak positivity and just even credits to the teams like, yo, this was a tough team. They challenged us. Mad respect for this Mendoza kid. This was really like maybe my third or fourth time watching him play throughout the season. And I must say, man, I was impressed though. You didn't get it going with the throwing wise. You just had a game last week to where you just put up 55, I guess. I forgot who they went against, but they put up 55. And just to have a low scoring game and to still find a way to win, credits to him, man. I hope he has a successful career.
Likewise, yeah. So thank y'all everybody for watching this episode. We will be back very, very soon. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Let us know in the comments who do y'all think is going to the Super Bowl. Who do y'all have winning the Super Bowl? Um, Jersey.
Keep God in your life.